Hello everyone, this is Alberto Ferro, your host at Where is the Music podcast. As you're getting ready for a new musical investigation, preparing your ears and imagination for another journey in the world of music, I would like to remind you that Where is the Music podcast has no sponsor. It relies entirely on donations from listeners like yourself. You can find a link to my website, albertoferro.com, and to my Patreon account in the episode description. If you like what I do and would like me to continue doing it, I encourage you to become a supporter of the podcast, which publishes an episode every week. Thank you for listening, and now let's find out where is the music. Welcome back everyone. In this second part of the episode, the artist's creative dilemmas, we will continue our journey around the artist's creative dilemmas. As previously introduced, I'll be reading from an early chapter of the book Art and Fear, Observation on the Perils and Rewards of Artmaking by David Bayles and Ted Orland, and add a few comments afterwards. Although the book mainly focuses on visual arts, paintings, sculptures, and photography, it is so well written and on point with regard to artistic creativity that it is easy to transfer basically everything onto the music world. The first 2 points that we previously discussed were: point 1, art making involves skills that can be learned. And we said how important it is to pay attention to your craftsmanship. And the other was art is made by ordinary people, which contradicts the common assumption that to create good art, one must be a flawless being or an overwhelmingly unique, talented person, the typical genius story. While there are geniuses around, being normally flawed and imperfect is the best starting point for making real, authentic, and beautiful art. Now, on to the third point. This is a long quote. Point 3, end quote. Making art and viewing art are different at their core. The viewer's concerns are not your concerns, although it's dangerously easy to adopt their attitudes. Their job is, whatever it is, to be moved by art, to be entertained by it, to make a killing of it, whatever. Your job, the artist, is to learn to work on your work. Art making can be a rather lonely, thankless affair. Virtually, all artists spend some of their time producing work that no one else much cares about. But for some reason, self-defense perhaps, artists find it tempting to romanticize this lack of response. The function of the overwhelming majority of your artwork is simply to teach you how to make the small fraction of your artwork that works. The point is that you learn how to make your work by making your work. And a great many of the pieces you make along the way will never stand out as finished art. End of quote. There is not much I can comment on. This point is a summary of all the possible answers to the many questions arising from the creative process. Why am I working on this? Who would ever be interested in it? Why would my work ever matter to anyone? Should I pay attention to what people like and do something like that? Should I pay attention to what people think about my work and adjust it to it? And if so, to what degree? Is it normal for artists to spend their time in this loneliness? Almost every project I spend my time working on is worthless to me and I suspect everyone else, is my commitment to art also worthless? Am I the protagonist of a tragic story of an artist who is valuable but forgotten, and only after death I will be recognized as a true great artist? Do I enjoy that story? Do I see myself as such? As a final comment on this, it has been my personal story with music, one that begins in alignment with everyone's opinion and likes, family, friends, etc. And as I grew up, I started demanding more from the music I experience, both as listeners and as pianist. And the gaps, the holes, the problems started arising, questioning everything, including what is the point? The constant relation with outside pressures, the viewers, can be everything from kind, friendly, to anxiety raising, nerve wracking, to destructive. It has been part of my work as artist to develop a relationship with this dimension too, cause it never really resolves. It has taken its toll on my life. It still is, and it probably continue doing so. I invite my students and those of you listening who are on the artist path to embrace their own struggles as part of their own artistic path. And the final point, the fourth from the book Art and Fear, another long quote. Art making has been around longer than the art establishment. Through most of history, the people who made art never thought of themselves as making art. In fact, it's quite presumable that art was being made long before the rise of consciousness, long before the pronoun I was ever employed. The painters of caves, quite apart from not thinking of themselves as artists, probably never thought of themselves at all. What this suggests, among other things, is that the current view equating art with self-expression reveals more a contemporary bias in our thinking than an underlying trait of the medium. Even the separation of art from craft is largely a post-Renaissance concept. And more recent still is the notion that art transcends what you do and represents what you are. In the past few centuries, Western art has moved from unsigned tableaus of orthodox religious scenes to one-person displays of personal cosmologies. Quote-unquote artist has gradually become a form of identity which, as every artist knows, often carries with it as many drawbacks as benefits. Consider that if artist equals self, then when inevitably you make flawed art, you are a flawed person. And when, worse yet, you make no art, you are no person at all. It seems far healthier to sidestep that vicious spiral by accepting many paths to successful art making, from reclusive to flamboyant, intuitive to intellectual, folk art to fine art. One of those paths is yours. This is the end of quote. I think this is so important. Today we have come to the conclusion, assumption, that art is something we do as individuals. And society strongly reinforces this view in many ways, for example, by attaching moral, aesthetic values to the person who created art or music. In other words, we project the things we find in the art onto the maker, the performer, or the creator. So much that when artists have a public persona, we follow them, admire them, be inspired by what they say or the way they behave. Look at the way cult of personality in pop rock music is accepted as normal, to the point that in order to promote their own music or art, emerging artists today must fundamentally promote themselves. As necessary as it is in the modern world, I still find it astounding how easy it has become to mix the two. The artist, someone talented in some area who has developed it into a profession, and the work of art, which might have virtually nothing to do with the person who made it. Today, more than ever, the society we live in, the community we are part of, is actually a very complex network of communities intertwined with each other. Family, friends, work, neighborhood, the city we live in, the country we belong, and through the internet we also belong in various ways to a number of real, virtual, or half real, half virtual communities. One community could be the musical one, and we might be part of a more specific one, like the pop or rock community. We have our history in that community, our relationships, ideas, and opinions, all being quite separated from the other communities we are part of. Say, in the pop music community, we are constantly broadcasted examples of individuals who, just by following their own individual creative inspiration, have come to become successful artists. But if we scratch the surface, we see how individual success is the result of the artist's work being broadcasted, pushed into a community by larger economic forces and interests, often a much larger virtual global community. If you think, for example, of a current pop artist like Taylor Swift, her music connects millions of teenagers around the world thanks to forces that have nothing to do with music. I'm thinking of the internet, technology, media and communication, agents, promoters, distributors, online platforms, performance venues, etc., etc., etc. This is a huge, varied community of people who have nothing in common, held together by economic interest which align on the potential of an artist like Taylor Swift. We can say Taylor Swift is an artist who expresses her individual self, but we must acknowledge how her music, by serving a massive community made of half teenagers, half music professionals, is bringing together, tying under the spell of her songs, a network of communities of people that have nothing in common as individuals, apart from believing in the value of the music. Artists such as her have the unique talent of knowing those communities well and being able to work their way around the many contradictions these communities carry amongst them. She manages to make music that is at once representative of a large network of communities and that is still remarkably individual. In other words, she manages, I think quite successfully, to interpret her community so well to align herself to it, to make music that inspires both. With the necessary distinctions, we could make a similar case for many, if not all, successful artists in the pop, rock community or in the jazz, classical or any other. Art and music do have this potential of tapping in a communal dimension, a collective consciousness even, that transcends us as individuals and creates bridges. If I learn anything out of the Taylor Swift story, is that as an artist, while finding my own individual expression by making my work, I might as well think that I am part of a community and create work for the benefit of that community. After all, I will be possibly using materials and ideas that, for the most part, have not originated by me individually, meaning I took those from the already existing vocabulary of artistic ideas and techniques. This thought process is very healthy, I believe. Firstly, it places me and my work in the real world, human relationships, and a network of aligning or conflicting interests, which ultimately will challenge my motivations creatively and my creative process. Secondly, it makes me posit a distance between me and my work, as if I were just a vehicle for it, a gifted interpreter of my community's wishes, hopes, feelings, stances. And thirdly, it makes me wonder about what matters at a broader scale. Rather than searching for what is true and beautiful for me, I start seeking what would be true and beautiful for my community. Rather than looking for who I am, what do I believe, what do I love, like, what do I want to see or experience aesthetically in the world, I would extend the question outside the limits of my own perspective and ask, what does my community believe, love, like, want, need to experience aesthetically in the world? if we consider the enormous success that certain individual artists had, from Beethoven to Stevie Wonder, from Bach to Bob Dylan, we might see how their art transcends their person, their country, and even their time, and connects people across nationalities and even centuries. We might say how lucky they were to be making their art at the right time and place. How fortunate they were that their individual artistic statement was exactly what the world needed at that time. That they found themselves in perfect alignment with their own time, culture, and even beyond that. Or we can flip the perspective and consider how deep and unique was the object they were seeking. How remarkable and insightful was their view of the world. How profoundly different was their perspective from any other, and yet how more authentic and meaningful it was to them and many other whom they never met. In other words, my final words, if we ponder on the statement that says people have ideas, but also ideas have people, we can appreciate how necessary it was that a great artist's message, his idea, emerged at that point, loud and clear, that these talented individuals have turned themselves into vehicles for beautiful and necessary ideas to take shape. And how important it is still today that such messages are there in a worldly form for us and for our communities to contemplate, available so we could transcend ourselves in the same way the author, the artist, the creator has transcended themselves to give birth to them. So these were my final words for today. This was the second episode of my commentary after reading the book Art and Fear, and I have commented on the 4 points that perhaps we can all point at when we think of the artist's dilemma. The book is called Art and Fear, Observation on the Perils and Rewards of Artmaking by David Bayles and Ted Orland, a book that I obviously recommend artists to read or students to read. Thank you for being with me. I should mention that in this episode I have played the introduction of the Rhapsody in Blue by George Gershwin, which I'm sure you all recognized, and I've played a piece of mine which is called Stay Still, available everywhere online. So thank you for being with me, and I look forward to the next episode of Where is the Music podcast. Bye bye. Just a quick note to say that my course on counterpoint is active and available. Throughout the years, I developed my own approach to counterpoint that is practical, fun, interactive, and aims at developing your improvisational skills from the ground up. It is designed for piano players at the beginner or intermediate level. It is called Counterpoint Fundamentals. It's on udemy.com, and with the coupon code TheMusicCode you get 30% discount. If you're curious about counterpoint but not sure what it is or why it matters in music, go ahead and watch the first 2 classes, which are free. The link is in the description. Coupon code is TheMusicCode. The music code, no space, no dot, no dash. The music code. Okay? And let me know what you think. Thanks for listening to Where is the Music podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, look up for others. I made a few. I publish an episode every week roughly, investigating each time a different aspect of music, the music making, the music listening, the meaning of music, and its relevance in our lives. It is very helpful for me if you like, subscribe, follow on your favorite platform. Where is the music is on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, TuneIn, and Google Podcasts. If you like to support me, you're free to do so through Patreon, link in description. Thank you again. Until next time.